What happens when the most trusted role in a child's life, the teacher, is replaced not by a person, but by a program? Across the country, classrooms are being digitized, chalkboards replaced by dashboards, textbooks by tablets, teachers by AI. It's called personalized learning, and it promises to revolutionize education. With one click, a student's pace can be adjusted. With another, a struggling child gets targeted remediation. Sounds like progress. Until you realize what's being lost, because behind every algorithm is a value system. Behind every adaptive learning tool is a code written by someone with biases, with goals, and with financial incentives. Teachers once responded to emotion, intuition, and context. Algorithms, they respond to data. And as schools embrace this shift, we have to ask, what kind of learning happens when a child's worth is calculated, not cultivated? When your student is no longer seen as a unique mind, but as a data point? This isn't a prediction, it's already happening. Classrooms are moving to platforms like iReady, Dreambox, and Khan Academy's AI tutors. Teachers are told to facilitate, not instruct, and students spend more time interacting with screens than with educators. The results? Students may be more engaged, but are they learning? Teachers are burnt out, replaced by dashboards. Kids are gamified, nudged, and behavior tracked. And education? It's being outsourced to code. This isn't about innovation, it's about control. Because once learning becomes data, it can be measured, manipulated, and monetized. Once upon a time, schools focused on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Today, it's emotions, attitudes, beliefs. Welcome to the world of social-emotional learning, or SEL. On the surface, it sounds great. Help kids manage their feelings, build empathy, foster resilience. But dig a little deeper, and it's not just emotional education, it's emotional surveillance, because modern SEL isn't being taught by counselors in heart-to-hearts, it's being administered through software. Algorithms now assess your child's mood, motivation, even political leanings, all under the banner of mental wellness. Panorama Education collects emotional data via surveys sent to students as young as 6. AI-driven platforms claim to track non-cognitive skills like grit and optimism. And schools are building emotional profiles, not just academic ones. But here's the catch. Who decides what's emotionally normal? When a child answers differently, are they flagged? When a student resists a prompt, are they labeled? And when emotional traits are linked to discipline, opportunity, or graduation, what happens to freedom of thought? In a world obsessed with equity, SEL becomes the tool to ensure compliance, not compassion. It's not about helping students process their emotions, it's about profiling them. Once, a student's future was written in effort, in dreams, in the chance to prove everyone wrong. Now, it's being written by predictive algorithms. From kindergarten test scores to subtle behavioral flags, today's students are sorted, tracked, and forecasted. Not by teachers, but by data scientists. ESSA, SEL, and digital learning platforms all feed into a massive ecosystem of predictive analytics. Who's likely to drop out? Who might get suspended? Who should or shouldn't be placed in gifted programs? These systems claim to help educators intervene early, but in reality, they lock students into paths before they've had a chance to grow, stumble, or prove themselves. Let's be clear. This isn't support, it's soft tracking. It's the modern equivalent of labeling a child troubled or average, but instead of a teacher making the call, it's a computer. A computer that may never have seen the student, never heard their story, never gave them a second chance. And the worst part? Parents rarely see these labels. Students never know who decided their ceiling. The system doesn't ask, what can you become? It asks, what are you statistically likely to become? And that subtle shift from possibility to predictability is how dreams die before they're even born. What happens when a classroom stops being a place of learning and becomes a testing ground for private profit? Walk into any so-called modern public school today and, well, you'll find Chromebooks on every desk, Google Docs in every folder, and lesson plans shaped not by teachers but by tech. This isn't by chance, it's by design. ESSA opened the floodgates for private companies to enter the classroom, not as partners but as architects. With mandates around personalized learning, adaptive assessments, and evidence-based tools, schools had honestly no choice but to outsource education to those who specialize in algorithms. And guess who showed up? Google, collecting data through every login, every search, every document. Microsoft, offering platforms that double as surveillance tools. Pearson, not just publishing the tests, but profiting from the prep, the scoring, and the remediation. Panorama Education partnered with the U.S. Department of Education, building social-emotional databases on, tens of millions of students. These companies are not neutral. They have shareholders, they have ideologies, and they have access to your children in ways you don't even realize. Assignments aren't just graded, they're analyzed. Behavior isn't just noted. It's tracked, flagged, and fed into predictive models. Teachers, they're now facilitators, monitors, tech support. The human element of education, mentorship, connection, wisdom, is being replaced by metrics and dashboards. And here's the worst part. Parents are being sold convenience, schools are being sold efficiency, but children are being molded by code written in corporate boardrooms. This isn't just about tech in the classroom, it's about who owns the classroom. So now we know. Our children's education is no longer shaped by teachers or communities, but by metrics, models, and machines. And the question we must ask is this: are we creating smarter students or more programmable ones? Because when everything is measured, tracked, and optimized, something human gets lost. Creativity becomes secondary to compliance, curiosity is replaced by conformity, and education becomes conditioning. We're told it's about efficiency. We're told it's about equity. But the truth? It's about control. Control over what kids see, control over how they think, control over who they become. This system isn't just failing our kids. It's training them to accept a future where obedience matters more than brilliance and data matters more than character. But here's the good news. More parents are waking up, more teachers are pushing back, more communities are refusing to hand over their children's minds to Silicon Valley and DC. It's not too late to pull the plug, to bring the classroom back to what it was meant to be, a place of critical thought, mentorship, and freedom. But we can't fix what we don't see. And now you see it. The algorithm is watching. But so are we.